Malik Wright, up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles. He got the stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals. Oh man, there's no one discussing it. They came, they stayed, they either did it or done it. And I love it, cause all they ever do is win. So kick back, relax, the TWSN.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Sit Down presented by First Star Logistics. We are live from the First Star studio here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm your host, Malik Wright, joined by my co-host. We've got Megan, we've got Daniel, and we've got a jam-packed show. But like we say always, make sure you guys like, comment. This is truly an interactive show. We want to make sure you're a part of the conversation. We've got a lot to get into, right? A lot to talk about. But first and foremost, I want to start off in Cincinnati, right where we are. Yep. The Cincinnati Bengals moved to 4-3, and as the title of the show says, the Bengals are the team to beat in the AFC. The Bengals run the AFC, and I genuinely believe that is the truth. Before I give my entire spiel and why I feel that way, I'm going to kick this off to Daniel to start us off.
So the question is, the Bengals, they run the AFC? I don't necessarily think that they run the AFC. I don't think so. I think that there's two other teams named the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs who run the AFC. Those are the two teams. Yes, the Bengals made the Super Bowl last year, but those are the two teams, that have been in, and more specifically the Kansas City Chiefs. But we have to put respect on what the Cincinnati Bengals have done. And over the next 3 to 4 games, you're going to continue to see that, right? They are the most explosive, or one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. And we saw that. Joe Burrow easily, for those of you, if you didn't watch the game, Joe Burrow could have broke the NFL passing record. So we were sitting in the First Star suite, and we were looking in the third quarter. We're like, he is going to break this. And obviously the Bengals started running the ball. But Joe Burrow, I'm going to put respect on him too, because he is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. People are going to look at, the outside noise, and they're going to say, well, he threw 5 interceptions. He's thrown 1 interception since week 1.
Yeah.
1 interception since week 1, and people like to say game manager, no better than Andy Dalton. What are we talking about? No better than Andy Dalton. He's a top 5 quarterback. And one of the other ways that is his receivers trust him so much.
Well, here's one thing I want to speak to really quickly before I kick it off to Megan. The fact of the matter is, I was very critical of this coaching staff. I was very critical of Zach Taylor and his play calling. And everybody is waiting to rip me a new one and pretty much say, hey, Malik, see what happens when you're patient? No, it's not about being patient. It's that they needed to hear about their flaws. They needed someone to hold them accountable, essentially. And I'm not trying to say I made the difference. Of course not. I'm just a guy with a show, right? But the fact of the matter is, you have seen this offense start to find their identity, and their identity is their playmakers. Mm-hmm. Their identity is the playmakers. It's taking what the defense gives you. And I've got to give credit to Zach Taylor. He has impressed me as a play caller, but I predicted this. I said they would find themselves in New Orleans, and then this next stretch, we'd see them go on a run offensively. Colton, I want you to actually play the clip of Joe Burrow throwing an absolute dart to Jamar Chase.
Quarter, Burrow on a 1st and 10, going to loft it down the sideline. Chase has it, and he's in. Touchdown, Cincinnati.
When you're in that press coverage right like that, you have got to get.
So it's things like that, right? It's plays like that. It's the return of the big play Bengals. It's things like that that's making the Cincinnati Bengals the team to beat in the AFC.
Yep.
See, I'm going to go off of what the combat sports analogy is, right? It's until someone knocks you off, you are the champion. You are the team to beat, the fighter to beat. The Bengals were the last team to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, mm-hmm. right? They won the AFC championship. So for those of you who are ready to crown the Bills, who, by the way, have never smelled an AFC championship under Josh Allen, or has even gone to the Super Bowl under Josh Allen, I can get the Chiefs a little bit more, but the Bengals knocked the Chiefs off twice. So the Bengals are now the king of the jungle. You see what I did there? The Cincinnati Bengals are 100% the team to beat in the AFC. That does not mean the Cincinnati Bengals are the best team in the AFC. It just means they are the currently crowned AFC champions. When you talk about the Bengals and you look back at the history books and, announcers announce this game, they say the defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. So when I say the Bengals run the AFC, they would 100% do. They're still the team to beat. And I'm going to tell you something that's even a little more scarier. The Bengals seem to have found their way. They seem to have found their way.
Yeah.
It seems like the play calling is matching up with the execution. Meg, I want to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, well, first of all, the big play Bengals are back. And I know you said that, but they started off the year with little to no big plays. They had 9 in yesterday's game.
Yeah.
9 big plays. And Joe Burrow finally looks like Joe Burrow, right? And the offense finally looks comfortable. On top of that, the defense didn't let any points score in the second half. They haven't let a touchdown score in the second half all year, right? So big credit to the defense as well. But I think there also is a difference between they're still the team to beat in the AFC and running the AFC right now. I think it's pretty hard to say they're running the AFC right now when they're not even running the AFC North.
That's a good point, Meg. I think the fact of the matter is, and that was like a mic drop moment. I've got to respond. Listen, the Bengals started off slow, and everybody was ready to write their obituary. I never wrote their obituary. I simply said I believed when the offense got rolling, they would be a hard team to stop. The offense has gotten rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Let me also remind everybody, Lou Anarumo, we all know Lou. I'm going to simply say that he's the best defensive coordinator in the National Football League. I'm ready to say that. I've been his biggest supporter from day one. I'm going to continue to be because I saw the makings when he first took over as the Bengals defensive coordinator, and now you see it coming to fruition. You saw it last year. It was called a fluke. It's not a fluke. You see it this year. It's been consistent. This defense has been on fire. It doesn't matter that they're missing DJ Reader. They still find a way to get stops. In my opinion, Lou Anarumo, because I don't necessarily look at the Cincinnati Bengals defense and say, oh, they have a bunch of stars on it, but they just a bunch of players that mesh well together.
Yep.
So when I say the Bengals run the AFC, I 100% stick by that because I think the scariest thing that could have happened, right? The scariest thing that could have happened was for the Bengals offense to get a clicking because the defense has already been keeping them afloat. Now it's happening.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that, we talk about the Bills, we talk about the Chiefs, we talk about all these different teams. The Bengals still have to face the Bills this season. The Bengals still have to face the Chiefs this season. So we will truly find out who runs the AFC.
Yeah.
But right now, to me, the team to beat in the AFC still looks like the Cincinnati Bengals, if you ask me. I still think they're going to give a lot of teams a hard time. I still think that until someone takes that AFC crown from them, you have to give it to the Bengals. Now, if the Bengals fell off a cliff and it looked like absolute trash this year, I'll say not. But now that the Bengals seem to be finding themselves and they found an identity, I can confidently say that. And I love what Michael Reeves says in the comment section. He says, they wrote the Bengals off, but
they ain't right.
You didn't write back. And he puts it with Wright, like my last name. I personally love it. One thing that was really, really awesome, right? I got a chance to watch with Meg and Daniel in the First Star Suite. And we had an awesome time yesterday. I had a blast. Then I got to do something I never had the opportunity to ever do. Step foot on Paycor Stadium now.
Yeah.
We stepped foot on their field, and we got to throw the ball around a little bit, take some pictures. It was a really, really awesome experience. But one thing that I loved the most, I was able to hit my gritty. Oh, show my gritty, man. Show my gritty. So I had a blast hitting the gritty. I could finally say that I scored a touchdown in Paul Brown / Paycor Stadium, and damn, did it feel good.
Yep.
It felt good. It gave me life being in that stadium, man. I just want to say special thanks to First Star for making that whole thing possible. It was awesome. It was awesome to watch the show, to watch the game with you guys. It was a show, actually. The Bengals were absolutely on fire. But I got to say, man, it was a blast.
Yes.
It was genuinely a blast. And what was even more fun was watching the Cincinnati Bengals roll offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got another big game coming up this upcoming week against the Cleveland Browns on Monday Night Football. I will not be in attendance. I'll be sitting at home. For those of you who know, I hate watching a Bengals Brown game in person. All you hear is the dog barkings and the dog pound and all that kind of stuff and things I don't want any part in. But I think it's a big game for the Bengals.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge game for the Bengals. Joe Burrow has not beaten the Cleveland Browns in his career just yet.
That's wild.
Might be a first time for everything. It might be
yeah.
exciting stuff happening. Monday, in Cleveland when the Bengals take on the Browns. It's a big one for the Bengals.
Yeah.
Right? If the Bengals want to see themselves as serious and if they want people to take them as serious, they've got to win this game.
The Bengals are in the driving seat right now.
Yeah.
It is their run to lose, right? Because if they keep this up, they have a grasp on their offense right now. And if they push forward with it, amazing. But it's theirs to lose.
Completely. And another thing, that people, when they want to look at the Kansas City Chiefs too, people are going to pencil that game in and say that's the game. Win or lose. If the Bengals, first off, Patrick Mahomes has not beat Joe Burrow. He hasn't beat Joe Burrow. He's 0-2 against Joe
Neither
Burrow.
has Josh Allen, though.
And, well,
he hasn't faced him yet. But still, neither has Josh Allen.
We'll see.
They're ready to crown 2 when you saw what happened.
No, not ready to crown 2. You're ready to write off the Bills, and the Bills are still.
Never wrote off the Bills.
You did actually
Never
on the
wrote
first
the
show.
Bills.
Yeah, you said their time was done. You said they weren't going to make the Super Bowl.
Let's make a correction here. I said the Buffalo Bills, if they were going to win a championship, I thought that their time had passed to win a championship with this current core. That's what I said. I don't think what I said was groundbreaking. I don't think it was disrespectful. The simple fact is Brian Daboll was their was an offensive guru for them.
Yeah.
Him and Josh Allen knew what were very much aligned in what they were thinking. Everybody knows what the Buffalo Bills like to do. Everybody knows that Josh Allen likes to throw the ball as far as he could deep down the field while driving back 15 yards to Stephon Diggs and out throw cover 2. Everybody knows Josh Allen likes to use his legs to run.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills still can't run the ball effectively.
Doesn't matter.
The fact of the matter is what I said about the Buffalo Bills fans, I think you guys are awesome, by the way, was not a diss, was not a play. And regardless of what Daniel tries to make it seem, the fact of the matter, all I simply said was,
No.
I think if they were going to win a championship, they would have won it by now. I don't think they will. However, I think they'll be very competitive. I think they'll still be a tough team to beat consistent. I just am not there with the Buffalo Bills. I think if they would have done it, they would have done it already. But they seem to always stumble against a roadblock, whether that be the Chiefs, and we haven't seen how they play against Cincinnati Bengals yet. So that's why I feel as strongly as I do about the Buffalo Bills. But we're going to keep the conversation rolling. Guys. We've got
love that.
We've got to talk about Brady and Rodgers, right? The question of the day is Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, are they washed? Colton, play the clip.
Rodgers to the 20. A flag is thrown out of bounds, and that's your ball game. There is a flag. We will check it, but that should do it.
Fires downfield, and the pass is bobbled and dropped by Mike.
Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, is not washed. I think that is a guy that doesn't have talent around him. I think that is a guy that is struggling because his receivers can't catch a damn ball consistently. Tom Brady, on the other hand, I said it last show, maybe the show before last, is washed, in my opinion. He looks horrific this year. Obviously, the Mike Evans touchdown conveniently was picked out, right? But there are countless plays of Tom Brady looking completely washed and not looking like the Brady of old. But I can't blame Tom Brady. There's a lot of stuff going on in his personal life, a lot of stuff outside of football that seems to be taking a toll on the greatest to ever do it. I think it's important to self-reflect. I think it's important to look at yourself in the mirror, and I think it's important to say, I'm not him anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy anymore. And I think Tom Brady needs to look at himself in the mirror and say, hey, maybe I should have stayed retired. Because right now it looks bad. Now I get it. The Tom Brady lovers and truthers of the world are going to say his offensive line is not that good. And that is the case. But I remember a Tom Brady in New England who had a lackluster offensive line and still found a way. This Tom Brady-led offense didn't even put up a touchdown yesterday. To the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
To the Carolina Panthers. So you're going to hear a lot of things on this panel. You're going to get people who grew up a Patriots fan and their favorite player growing up was Tom Brady to say, hey, Tom Brady's not washed because they're absolutely in love. And the fact of the matter is, I already know. I can already tell you what Daniel's going to say.
No, I love these shots. I love these shots.
Keep
the shots coming.
Aaron Rodgers is washed. Aaron Rodgers
keep
has
the
more
shots
talent
coming
in his left thumb than Tom Brady has. The fact of the matter is, Aaron Rodgers is one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever do it. Everybody who knows the game of football has always said Aaron Rodgers was the better quarterback. Tom Brady just won. And the fact of the matter is, when you look back at the history books, we look at the rings, right? We look at who wins. So this isn't a thing about Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers because I can assure you Daniel's going to try to make it that.
No,
it's not that. Tom Brady, as it stands right now, is washed. And guess what? The fact of the matter is, if you gave Aaron Rodgers the roster, the talent that Tom Brady is throwing to, I guarantee you Aaron Rodgers will be able to put up touchdowns. Tom Brady can't do it. Tom Brady is washed. Meg, what are your thoughts?
Listen, it's really hard for me to sit here and say that Tom Brady is washed. I know
It's not for me.
there's a lot of factors that go into being washed that I feel like are just not playing in Brady's favor. And I know, obviously, there's no excuses, right? If he has stuff going on in his personal life, you should be able to push through if you're the GOAT, right? Like, you should be able to still perform. But at the same time, he's 45 years old. So not only can he not hang with the young guys, but he needs everything to go right for him to pull through now, right? And I agree that he should have sat back and been like, personally, I can't do this mentally, right? It's not working in my favor. I can't perform. I can't do this. I do think he should have self-reflected and realized the position that he's in.
But, you know, Tom Brady's the type of guy where he'll never quit on himself.
Yeah.
He will always believe he can. It's like the press conference the other day. Retirement is not in the near future. It's like, brother, it should be. Look bad.
Yeah.
Look bad.
Yeah.
Again, I love Tom Brady. I loved watching him play. I think he is the greatest to ever do it. But Father Time is undefeated for a reason. Father Time is undefeated for a reason. And I think that when you mix the things he's got going on in his personal life with his play on the field, I think that's what the product that you're seeing on the field right now is a direct result. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
So it's my turn. It's my turn. I've let you talk, Meg. I've let you talk. It's my turn. I think it's disrespectful that if you can say they're both washed, if you can say that they're both failing, then that's a different conversation. But to point out one or the other, no, Aaron Rodgers, if Tom Brady is considered washed, Aaron Rodgers sure as hell is washed. Sure as hell. They've lost to the Giants. They've lost to the Jets. They lost this week. What is Aaron Rodgers providing his team? He's not providing his team with any superstar quarterback. He's not a superstar quarterback right now. He is checking the ball down to Aaron Jones. He's checking the ball down to A.J. Dillon. He's not pushing the ball down the field. He's not pushing the ball down the field. Hold on. He's not pushing the ball down the field. And also, when you look at the Buccaneers, right? Context matters, as you like to say all the time. The context is Leonard Fournette is rushing for 2 yards a carry. They ran the ball 8 times last week. They ran the ball, 15 times a week before, and they're running for 2 yards a carry? In the NFL, you have to be able to establish the run and open up the passing game. So I don't think it's fair that, we look at Tom Brady and say he's washed, but look at Aaron Rodgers' performance and blame that all on his receivers, because I know sure as hell the quarterback that Aaron Rodgers was in the past, even without Devontae Adams, he still made his receivers look elite. That's a fact. He's made bum receivers look elite. And how all of a sudden this year is the year where he just can't do it anymore? For me, that shows him falling off the cliff, because I've seen Aaron Rodgers make guys look terrible without a run game. And now what is he doing? He's falling off the cliff. Their offense looks atrocious. He's checking the ball down every single play. And what? He's doing the same thing as Tom Brady is. He's upset. He's frustrated. They're both upset. They're both frustrated. And I think a lot of it has to do with their situation. But Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, I think they're both dealing with the same exact thing. And I think Aaron Rodgers is washed.
So here's the thing that and I appreciate. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, sure.
The fact of the matter is, when you look at who Aaron Rodgers is throwing to, let me just say this: the Packers organization. We had a show a couple of weeks ago where I said this has failed Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers. You knew that he was losing Devontae Adams, right? Got traded the whole 9 yards, and you did nothing to surround him. I mean, but this has been a thing that's been going on for years, dating back to when the Packers had every opportunity to draft T. Higgins, and they didn't, right? They let him fall to the Bengals in the second round. Like every situation that the Packers could have blundered to help Aaron Rodgers succeed, they have done that. If Aaron Rodgers had the talent Tom Brady had in his career, I don't even know if we'd be having the same conversation, to be completely honest with you. And I'm ready to say that. The fact of the matter is, Aaron Rodgers is throwing to guys like Alan Lazard, who went out yesterday with an injury, Romeo Doubs, the rookie, Amari Rodgers, who can't catch, who's a return man, Christian Watson, Randall Cobb, who's on IR, who should have retired a year ago. The fact of the matter is, the talent that Aaron Rodgers is throwing to is not equivalent to the talent Tom Brady is throwing to. The Packers organization has failed Aaron Rodgers. That's why I remember on my past show that I did, I said, Aaron Rodgers, if I was Aaron Rodgers, I would try to make every attempt to become a member of the Denver Broncos. But he stayed loyal, and he stayed with the Packers, and it's biting him. It's biting him. But I look at it, I think I watched yesterday's game. I saw how many drop passes Aaron Rodgers had. It was ridiculous. Aaron Rodgers was threading the needle down the field to his guys, and they're dropping the ball. Aaron Rodgers is trying to do everything in his power to will this team. And he said it even early in the offseason. We need more talent. We need more playmakers. Now, Tom Brady's situation, Tom Brady's just checking it down to his guys. Tom Brady's just missing some throws that Tom Brady of last year wouldn't have missed. Now, Mike Evans has to make that catch. I'll be the first one to tell you, Mike Evans has to make that catch. But could you imagine Aaron Rodgers with a Mike Evans? The fact of the matter is, we could sit up here and we could pinpoint, and I know this is probably a little emotional for Daniel because that's his favorite quarterback of all time.
No.
But this isn't a shot at Tom Brady. This isn't a shot at him. This is me taking my bias out of it and me simply just saying, I think it may be time for Tom Brady to consider retirement because there are other factors at work.
Yeah.
Meg, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, I think for Rodgers too, it's a little bit more on the mental side as well, to where he knows the outcome of his offense now, and that's just putting a toll on how he's performing as well. And I think when you know that your offense cannot make drives up the field, that your receivers can't make catches, I mean, in your head, you're just, wow,
Yeah.
What more?
But at what point do we look at the quarterback and say, okay, take over? Take over.
What do you mean by take over,
over,
though, Daniel? What do you mean? No, seriously.
Yeah,
what do you
let's
mean
talk
by
about
take over? We are talking about it. But what do you mean by take over? The guy's throwing the ball to his receivers. The guy's threading the needle to his receivers.
He's
the
also missing passes. He's missing reads.
Every quarterback under the sun misses passes.
And every team has drops. Every team has drops.
Daniel, he's giving his guys every opportunity to make plays, and they are dropping these passes that Devontae Adams or even Allen Lazard, when he is in the game, would have made. His receivers, the current crop of guys that he is throwing to, are dropping passes. Yeah. That's not something you're saying. You're sitting up here like, take over. Like, the fact of the matter is, what do you mean by that?
What quarterback can take over?
You can't catch for them out there. You can't run after the catch for them out there. You can't. Yeah. All he can do is be like a point guard and distribute the ball and make sure it goes to his receivers. Yeah. So when you sit up there and you fix yourself to say, hey, he needs to take over, what are you talking about? He's not. Aaron Rodgers is a pocket passer.
Tom Brady is a pocket passer.
Tom Brady, okay, so when you say take over, Tom Brady is no Lamar Jackson, guys.
Yeah, and neither is Aaron Rodgers.
He's not going to run. They're not that. So I'm saying, so when you say Aaron Rodgers needs to take over, when he's giving his guys opportunities to make plays and they're dropping those passes, there were catchable passes. Yeah. I can see if they're off balance. There were catchable passes and they're dropping the ball. So when you sit up here and you say Aaron Rodgers needs to take over, what are you talking about?
So
Malik, what do you mean by take over?
What do I mean? No, but let me.
What do you mean by take over?
So he has to do more with his offense. He has to do more. Malik, he is missing reads. He is missing guys. And let me tell you guys a fact right now. Malik, hold on. Malik is talking about these drops. How many drops do the Packers have this year? They have 10. How many drops do the Buccaneers have? They have 11. And that's a fact. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't lie, Malik. You're talking about these drops as if they're ruining the entire offense. Yes, they may ruin one drive.
Did you watch
yesterday's
game?
Hold on.
Did you watch
Hold on. Yes, they may ruin one drive. We all saw that with the Buccaneers.
Multiple drives.
Also, hold on. We saw that with the Buccaneers. They had a wide open touchdown. Mike Evans, they didn't score because of that play. Same thing with the Packers. They're dealing with the same exact issues. But to make this seem as if Aaron Rodgers isn't doing, like, he isn't washed or it's all on his surroundings. It's not all on his surroundings. It's not every single reason is because of his surroundings. It's also on Aaron Rodgers. He's not the same player he once was. I saw on Aaron Rodgers time and time again, dice up, opposing defenses. And right now he's just checking it down. That's it. He's checking it down.
I mean, I don't think that happens when your receivers can't create any separation.
But also then look at the Buccaneers. Like the Buccaneers, yes, they have the receivers, but run game, they don't have a running game. Like,
okay, but do you think it's time for Tom Brady to?
I think it's time for both of them to hang it up, if we're being completely honest. I think Tom Brady more so than Aaron Rodgers. More so. He is older. He's dealing with a lot of other factors. I'm just simply saying right now, I still think Tom Brady is a good quarterback. I think Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are still the same tier of quarterback. I think so.
All right, well, we're going to switch topics here.
Please.
And the next topic is going to be about Geno Smith. We're going to talk about Geno Smith, and a question that's been posed as of lately is Geno Smith the Seahawks franchise quarterback? Quote and roll the clip.
Smith looking for Goodwin in the end zone. A little toe tap in the corner for the touchdown.
I gotta say, man, talk about most improved players. I don't even know if you can necessarily say improved because the guy didn't get a chance to show, but Geno Smith has completely turned his entire career around. Now, maybe he's just taking his career more serious and things of that nature. I think franchise quarterback is a tough name to to give someone, but I do think he can be their current starter, long-term, like their long-term, like not long-term starter, not long-term answer necessarily, but like the guy that they rely on for the next 2-3 years. He makes it so they don't have to rush and go out and draft a quarterback. So props to Geno Smith, props to Pete Carroll, because everyone thought, including myself, with the loss of Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, that they would pretty much fall off a cliff. We all thought the Seahawks wouldn't be competitive. We all thought Pete Carroll would get fired after this year. And wow, man, have they made believers? Have they made everybody in the NFL world look like fools? Meg, what are your thoughts?
I think Geno, one, he's a great placement holder for their actual franchise QB whenever they decide to draft him. He can fill that role great, amazing. But he's also, 32 years old?
32.
So, to say franchise QB, a franchise QB in my eyes is someone who completely changes the path for an organization and the team, and he just doesn't have time to do that. There's just no shot. He looks great. It's amazing to see what he's doing, but he's a short-term solution. So franchise QB is just not the right.
Yeah, he's a short-term solution. I also think that, first off, we have to give our flowers to Geno Smith. The entire NFL wrote him off. This dude has made $14 million over his entire NFL career. $14 million. But you look at these other quarterbacks, Case Keenum getting 20-something million dollars, Tyrod Taylor getting, $12 million. Geno Smith is going to get paid the bag this offseason. He is going to get paid the bag, whether it's for 2 years, 3 years. He is better than a lot of other quarterbacks right now. He's a top 20 quarterback. Maybe he's better than Matt Ryan. He's better than a lot of these other quarterbacks. So Geno Smith, I can confidently say right now, if they built a team around him for the next 2 years, he can win multiple playoff games. I am 100% confident that the player he is right now, top 10 in passing yards, top 10 in passing touchdowns, number 1 completion percentage in the NFL, number 1 with the Seahawks. Yes, they have DK Metcalf. Yes, they have Tyler Lockett. But Geno Smith, number 1 in completion percentage. He's thrown 2 interceptions all year. That's the second least in the NFL. Geno Smith, I'm giving you your flowers. You are going to get paid the bag this offseason. And like I said, if they build a team around him correctly, they're going to get a young guy, as they should, behind him. But he can win multiple playoff games, and I'm so confident in that.
How can you say a guy who's never even been to a playoffs can win multiple playoff games?
I think what he's done so far this year, he's shown me that with the talent around him, he's a game-managing quarterback, and he can also push the ball down the field, especially once again.
What has he shown for you to say he can win multiple playoff games? The playoffs game is the highest stakes.
Yeah, multiple.
Of the league. What are you talking
multiple
about?
is a big.
So it depends once again on the situation around him. But if, like I said, if they build a team around him, if they have the talent necessary to even make the playoffs, he can win multiple playoff games. Right now, he is a top 10 quarterback. Right now, how he is playing, he is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. Number 1 in completion percentage, top 10 in passing touchdowns. He is doing everything, and he's also not just being a game manager. He's pushing the ball down the field. Yes, they have a great run game. Pete Carroll is also showing us exactly why he is an elite head coach. But Geno Smith also is doing this with a terrible defense. Their defense is trash. And Geno Smith, once again, they don't have the team right now to do it. They don't. But if I put him in a situation, let's say like the 49ers, I think he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo right now. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo with the 49ers can win multiple playoff games this year. So if Jimmy Garoppolo can do it, Geno Smith right now can do it too.
You got anything to add to that? Because I think that's a completely
I think
idiotic
we got a comment here that says recency bias, and that's Daniel's favorite thing to say.
I actually love that they brought it up, recency bias. But when you look at the actual fact, Geno Smith, he started his NFL career, he had 3 years where they were completely bad. It's been 5 years since he's had a full season actually starting. And I look at last year. What did he do? He looked good last year. With the team that they had, he went 1-2, yes. But in the spot starts that he had, in the situation that he was put in, he looked good. And then the questions were this year, okay, Drew Lock is better than him. That's what people were saying. Drew Lock 100% should be the starter. He wasn't. Geno Smith came in week 1, and what did he do? Went into Denver or in Seattle and won. And yes, you can say recency bias, but he's done it for 7 games. 7 games is no small sample size. Whichever way you want to slice it, that's not a small sample size. That's not 1 game. That's not 2 games. That's 7 games. So right now, with what the Seahawks are doing, the talent that they have, like I said, if I put him in a situation like the 49ers, he can win multiple playoff games. He's performed better than Jimmy Garoppolo this year. And once again, I hate to use the Jimmy G, comparison, but he's thrown interceptions in the playoffs and he still won. So I think Jimmy G or Geno Smith can win multiple playoff games right now.
This is why we do the show. There are times where we agree on things, times that we disagree. I think that's a completely idiotic take. But, I got to give props to Daniel for sticking to his guns and believing what he believes. I don't think me and Meg both share that.
Yeah,
I can't sit here and say that, like, from Geno Smith. Like,
yeah,
I literally.
It feels like a hot take Monday.
It feels like I just can't.
I don't think that it's necessarily a hot take. Like once again, it's a situation. If you put him in a good situation, an elite situation with an elite head coach, a good offensive line. Okay, he is, yes, but the team right now, I mean, we'll see if
they say that they can win multiple playoff games.
He can win.
See, that's what's crazy too. Yeah. Saying Geno Smith himself, like you can.
He's never done it before.
Yeah, if they make the playoffs, maybe if you were sitting here being like, he could pull out a first, playoff game win. Okay, he can pull, like he can show up, but like multiple to me, it's just.
So basically, another comparison I'm going to use right now. I think he's in the tier with the quarterbacks like the Kirk Cousins, right? Like the Jimmy G's, the guys that they've won playoff games, they've had success, but it wasn't all because of him. If Geno Smith wins a playoff game, it's not going to be solely because of him, but he can maneuver the boat. If he has an elite defense, he can play with the lead, and he's also shown that he can play from behind. So I don't know. Geno Smith has impressed the hell out of me right now. He's a top 15 quarterback. I hope that he can keep it up. We'll see if he keeps it up. They've got a good situation around him. Like you said,
man's just compare Geno Smith to Kirk Cousins.
Do you think do you think Kirk Cousins is way better than Geno Smith? Stop that. He is not right now. Geno Smith is Kirk Cousins not levels above Geno Smith. Not right now.
Okay, Daniel.
Not right now. If you put Geno Smith on the Minnesota Vikings right now, they have just as much success as Kirk Cousins is having. Throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, having Dalvin Cook run the ball.
He's throwing to DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
And Noah Fant.
But it's also the situation. He is like on the same tier as Kirk Cousins.
Got it.
What does Kirk Cousins do that Geno Smith doesn't do? What does Kirk Cousins do that Geno Smith doesn't do?
Listen,
exactly.
When Daniel's on one, guys, when Daniel is on one,
I think it's a fair assessment.
I agree, Chase. Daniel, what did you put in your coffee this morning? Yeah,
I'm sorry. I think it's a fair assessment. You look at Kirk Cousins. What's the knock against him? He can't do it on prime time. He time and time again doesn't do it on prime time. He falters under pressure. Yeah. And I'm a huge Kirk Cousins fan. I said that he can do it with the situation around him. What Geno Smith has proved right now is with the situation around him, he can succeed. And like I said, I think he's on that tier with Kirk Cousins. And I don't think that's a hot take.
All right, so we're going to move on to our next topic. We got the NFL trade deadline coming up fast and furious, if you will. And I want to get you guys' takes. Who should be buyers? Who should be some sellers at the trade deadline? Meg, start us off.
Let's start with buyers of the New York Giants. They're 6-1 with little to no talent on their team.
I just want to say before you continue.
Yes.
Giants fans. I told you guys are building something special. People sat up on this panel.
No, I did not say they weren't building something special. No, I did not say that.
Think you guys would do anything. I believe the Giants aren't going to do anything this year and ever again.
No, I didn't say that.
By week, stacking good wins on top of good wins, making haters and doubters into believers. That is what the Giants have been doing. That is their call to action. I am so proud of the Giants faithful. I am not a Giants fan. I have no dog in the fight. I just know football. I've been around the game my entire life. And guess what? I know good cultures when good cultures are being built. They're building something great over in New York with the Giants, and Giants fans should 100% be excited and ready, for what could happen this season. Again, you continue to stack good wins when you guys and the Eagles meet head on. I expect good things to happen. May continue.
Yeah, so 6-1 with little to no talent is by itself insane, right?
Yeah.
So get yourself some elite pass catchers.
Mhm.
You got DJ Moore. I don't know what the Panthers are deciding to do with him, if they're like holding on to him, but I do know that he would be a long-term solution, not just a short-term. Same with Chase Claypool, Brandon Cooks. So just go out there, get some people for Daniel Jones to do his thing, right? And then add some people on defense. Good teams have good defenses, right? So find yourself some people on defense, which brings me to a buy or a seller, which is the Commanders. Obviously cannot sell to the Giants, and they wouldn't, but they have two big names. You got Jonathan Allen and Payne on defense that any team would be so lucky to have these guys, right? And so those are some sellers to me.
Yeah.
But they also got Logan Thomas that maybe can go somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. Those are just.
So before I get into my buyers and sellers, I just have to address Giants fans. I think that they're building something special. Once again, I said it on the other week. They are building something special. They have a great culture. I have been very impressed, and Giants fans should be happy. I'm going to say, I don't think that they're going to win the NFC East, and I don't think they're going to win a playoff game. But I just want to say the Giants are building something special, and I completely agree with you. They need to go out there and add more talent, because if they're doing this with that much talent, and that shows, how much Brian Daboll's made an influence on their offense, how much the young talents made an influence on their defense. If you go out and get a couple superstar guys, even like a DJ Moore to that offense, that's an extra punch that helps you in those divisional games, in the playoffs, especially, if you have to play from behind. So I like that.
Anyway, so in terms of buyers, versus sellers, I think those Bengals should look into being some buyers. And I think the Bengals should look into being some buyers. Yep. I think if they can somehow snag an extra pass rusher, maybe.
Yeah.
Because if you lose Trey Hendrickson or even one of these guys, things could look a little spooky. Maybe you go out there and you see what is on the horizon. I don't necessarily have a name that comes to mind. But if I was the Bengals, I would definitely look into that. I think that for the most part, they're good in that regard. In terms of sellers, here's some people that I think should be sellers at the trade deadline. I think the Steelers should. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers should look into selling some of their receivers who have fallen out of favor or who don't have a long-term future. I think, dare I say, this is going to be a really, really hot take right here. Steelers fans probably going to hate me for it. I would look into trading Deontay Johnson. I 100% would look into trading Deontay Johnson. He is not the guy that they expected him to be. He has a hard time being consistent with catching the ball. And I think that his stock is high enough now to where you could still get something very, very good for him. Because ideally, I think the Steelers, their thought process should start shifting towards building this team up and making sure if this is going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season, making sure it's going to be his last one.
Yeah.
So I think the thought process should be probably selling off some of those guys. So receivers, I would even Alex Highsmith. I'd probably think about selling. He's the NFL. At least I knew he was the NFL lead, sack leader, for instance. I think that that's something that could definitely work for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if I was them, that's something that I would personally do. Will they do it? No idea.
Yeah.
No idea. I have no idea if they will or not. Also, thinking a little bit more. Maybe the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe the Baltimore Ravens need to go look into getting more receiver help. Right? We're talking about that. I know the Steelers ain't trading with the Baltimore Ravens, so maybe the Baltimore Ravens can go look into getting some receiver help and seeing what's out there and seeing if there's something that could help get a spark with this offense, because certainly this offense is look very, very interesting. So that's just my thought process.
I've got one team that has to be a buy 100%. It's you talked about the Giants. I think the Eagles have to be a buyer. They have to. And the reason why I say that is this is their shot. You've got teams like the Giants, teams like the Cowboys who are right behind you, who are damn good this year. And we don't know who's necessarily going to come out of the NFC. Eagles, this is your chance. This is your one chance. And yes, people can say, oh, well, they're going to build something special. I'm of the belief that there's certain times where if you strike gold in the season, you have to strike while it's hot. And that's their time right now. Because if I look at this and let's say the Eagles lose in the first round of playoffs, who's to say that they even get back there next year? So I think that the Eagles, especially, they lost Derek Barnett on the defensive line. Go out there, continue to build that dominant defensive line, maybe add to your offensive line, maybe add some pieces to the defense. But I would definitely defensive line, because with the Eagles, if they want to win the Super Bowl, right, because that's their aspirations. And this is, I believe, like their one true shot. I'm not saying they can't do it in the future, but this is your shot. Build that dominant defensive line and hope that you're better than the other teams in your division. So if I were them, I'd go get a dominant defense line, Robert Quinn, something like that.
I also like the Bucks to go out and get a tight end for Tom Brady. I
Yeah.
think that's a hole that
Yeah.
he's been missing, and I know Mike Gesicki on the Dolphins hasn't really been working with their offense.
Yeah.
They've talked about possible
I like that one a
rumors.
lot.
Yeah.
I like
So
that one a lot.
I get Tom Brady an elite pass catching tight end, and I think Mike is great for that. Maybe his gritty is better in Tampa Bay. Who knows?
And I'll say just the one thing I'll add is I think the Chargers should look to add some offensive help. Their offense
They
is
are
so
trash.
pedestrian right now. It's nothing exciting about it. I know our guy chilling with Chase is a big Chargers fan. Chase, I'm sorry, man. Watching that debacle yesterday was something, man. And I think the Chargers definitely are in need of some speed at the wide receiver position because now questions are starting to creep in. Is Justin Herbert overrated? I've been seeing a crap ton of that on Twitter this morning.
Yeah,
And
me
people
too.
are now starting. I saw one tweet where it said fraud alert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For Chase, I'd 100% play. I'd put 100% play receiver. You saw my moves. You saw me my fade ball. I've got the good IQ. I mean, it's something that can definitely make sense. But one last thing, last thing, because we might actually do a trade deadline show. I haven't decided yet. We're going to do. If you guys want us to do a trade deadline show, let us know in the comment section. But what if I just had the team? I lost it already. Damn it. I had the team in my head and I lost it already. But definitely, I think that Justin Herbert, the Denver Broncos. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos. Should the Denver Broncos be sellers?
You can't sell when you don't have a first round pick, right? Because you just can't.
Well, you could sell. If
You
had
could,
one.
but like, is it really worth
I
it?
think
Yeah.
a Bradley Chubb. I think a Bradley Chubb might make sense for the right team, for especially a team that's competing right now.
Yeah.
Judy is something I would look into as well. That's just my thought process.
Malik, if they make that move, if they make the move to be sellers, then they're blowing this entire thing up. They have to, because you mentioned the draft picks. They don't have a lot of draft picks. So if they make one move,
Yeah.
whether it's Bradley Chubb, expect the whole house to be gone. Expect Jerry Jeudy to be gone. Bradley Chubb, I don't know, Cortland Sutton. Expect them to completely clean house. And we'll see what they have to do with their quarterback, right? And it's a tough situation if you're Nathaniel Hackett, because at that point, his job's definitely gone in the next couple of years. So I think that's a smart move, because when you look at the roster, you look at how they're doing. I'm sorry, they're not going to make noise. They're not. So I agree. I think they should be sellers. Prep for your future, because it looks like they kind of pigeonholed themselves and dug themselves a hole this
Yeah.
year that I don't think they can get out of.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we want to switch gears here, and we want to turn over to the UFC. This past weekend, we held a huge UFC live watch party presented by First Star Logistics, hosted by Kitty Sports Grill. I want to thank everybody who came out in attendance and all the First Star employees who came out and support. It was truly, really awesome. And I put a message out on my Twitter. I said, "There's really no place better to work than First Star. The atmosphere, the people here are just amazing. It's really a family type environment." I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody who came out, supported, and showed love, and made the atmosphere truly amazing. The event was truly awesome. We saw some belts switch hands, and some belts, stay in some people's hands that probably shouldn't have been in to begin with. But the fact of the matter is, it was an awesome, awesome event. But there was one thing that happened, right? It was TJ Dillashaw. He challenged for the bantamweight championship against Aljamain Sterling. And it was revealed after the fight, in his post-fight interview, that he dislocated his shoulder 20 times leading up to this fight. He knew he was injured going in, but he still wanted to fight. He dislocated his shoulder twice during the fight. Once in his corner, his coach had to pop it back in. And he said he knew his shoulder was going to get dislocated in this fight, which is why he wanted to stand with Aljamain Sterling. So it brings the question: should sportsbooks refund bettors for TJ Dillashaw's injury? I'm of the belief they should. I think that it was egregious on the UFC's part for even allowing him to compete. Now, I get it. It's up to the fighter to disclose that injury or not. But even for the fact that he disclosed the injury after the fight, it's a bad look on the UFC's part.
Mhm.
And it's an even worse look on the sportsbooks part, because that's just as good as a team throwing a game. If you knew your shoulder was going to be dislocated, you are severely in combat sports at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
You are severely compromised. And the fact that no sportsbook, not PointsBet, not FanDuel, not DraftKings, nobody has refunded bettors their money. Somebody has to stand up and say, what happened is wrong. That's like stealing people's money. I understand it's the art of betting. It would have been fine had the UFC fighter not came out and said, hey, I didn't have an injury. Had he just kept that to himself, that he had an injury that dislocated his shoulder, that's one thing. But to physically get on the mic and use that as an excuse for the reason for his poor performance, and we all saw his shoulder dislocate.
Yeah.
We saw it popped out. At what point does somebody in the sports betting, sportsbook step up and say, we're refunding everybody who bet TJ Dillashaw their money? Somebody has to be a leader of this.
Yeah.
Somebody has to. Because I feel bad, and I had no money on TJ Dillashaw. I feel bad for the people that actually put their hard-working money on this guy who came in with a compromised injury, and everybody is sitting quiet. To me, that would turn me off to the whole sports betting industry. I'd be pissed. Especially if you think about it. What if you had that as your last leg in a parlay?
Yeah.
Nobody is saying anything. I don't know. I think it's ridiculous.
Malik, if I bet on TJ Dillashaw, I would be so pissed right now, right? And you mentioned something about refunding. Okay, you know what? If the sportsbooks want to even say, if that was your last leg in your parlay, and they've done this for the NFL, right? When players go down with the injury, we saw it, I think, with Nyheim Hines as soon as he got his concussion, right? If that was the last leg of your parlay, we void it. Okay, even if they did something like that, even if it wasn't just straight up the money lines, that would be better than nothing, right? And people can look at this. In every other sport, you get injury reports, and a lot of times players come in questionable, and then people are pissed. Oh, I bet on that. You still saw the injury report.
Yeah.
For this, there was no injury report. There was none. And I would be so pissed. And I think sportsbooks, they need a refund, at least something. Void the bet if it was last leg of the parlay.
Even if you give him a $10 bet, something.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
From my perspective, like, it's not on the sports books, right? Like, it's on.
It wasn't on the sport books until he made that announcement, because it comes down to an integrity part question.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's what I mean is, like, if like a site wants to do it because they are like, you guys, whoever our bettors are what matter, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to refund you because we care about you. But if you look at the hindsight of things, they had no prior knowledge of it, right? They had no idea that was going to happen. And to them, it's like, well.
So, but here's the thing. You're absolutely right, Meg. But think about it from this perspective. They didn't know, right? But that also means the lines that people bet were misleading, because if people knew, for instance, going in, TJ Dillashaw was dealing with a severely compromised shoulder, I'm sure Aljamain Sterling probably would have went to like a minus 900 favorite.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
it was much more even than that.
Yeah.
When it wasn't actually even. So again, it's not on the sports books to. It's not on the sports books, for instance, to basically say, hey, it's our bad that TJ Dillashaw got injured. It's not that. But from an integrity standpoint, it is on the sports books to do right by their customers. But if you do get screwed in a situation like that, hey, we're going to, whether it gives you a $10 voucher or a $15, something, because essentially everybody who bet TJ Dillashaw their money was pot.
Yeah.
Forget TJ Dillashaw. The thing about the people who bet the fight to go to distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because these are two guys that will cancel each other's out wrestling. And TJ Dillashaw is a way better wrestler than what he showed. If TJ Dillashaw did not get hurt, Aljamain Sterling's not controlling him like that on the ground. I can assure you that.
Yeah.
It was just a really weird situation.
I agree.
I think that sports books should look into doing something. The fact that they haven't done anything now, I highly doubt they're going to do anything.
Yeah, and I agree that they should do something. I think that's the right thing to do. But at the same time, I don't agree with really blaming them.
Yeah.
at the same time because their job is to make money. And if it's all TJ's fault. I mean, let me just put that out there.
And UFC's.
Yeah, and UFC, right? Because first of all, you took somebody's spot in that fight. And I know he felt bad and whatever, but now you lost people money.
Yeah.
There was nothing good came out of that.
Meg, he literally, and Malik, I'm sure you already saw this, he literally said, oh, I thought about pulling out, but I didn't want to wait another year for a title fight. Like that's on him. So the only last thing I'm going to say is the sports books, yes, they want to make money, but it's like, it's a business to consumer. Like there are many other instances like in the NFL where they refunded people money. It's if you truly cared about your customers, you would do something about that, especially with how that went. And obviously
with betting sites, people are going to bet no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if they don't refund anything, people are still going to do it.
Right.
And that's the thing is like, it's a crappy thing to do. And it's crappy that they don't care enough to like sit back and be like, wow, like a lot of people were misled. But at the same time, it's the business.
Somebody said if the sportsbook refund for TJ bets, I promise they won't go out of business. I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Chase said, again, we're just reading some of the comments here. I want to know Meg's reaction for watching UFC despite not being a hardcore UFC fan.
I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, besides watching dude's shoulder literally be out of socket, I actually really enjoyed it. And the atmosphere was great, so that really helped.
We're already starting to get Meg into training for her UFC debut. That's something that we were talking about. She's ready to compete against Valentina Shevchenko. Kidding. We want to move on here. Sugar Sean O'Malley defeated Peter Yan in the most controversial fight this past Saturday, and it left fighters all divided. Some people had Sugar Show winning. Most people had Peter Yan winning.
Yeah.
But regardless of what people think, the fact of the matter is Sean O'Malley walked away as the victor. So it begs the question, is Sean O'Malley now the biggest star in the UFC? Is he the new face of the UFC? Daniel?
I don't think that he's there yet. What I will say, though, is he's on the path. He has all the makings to be that. And the reason why I say that he has the makings to even be the face of the UFC is he's flashy. The UFC, time and time again, it's all about flashy. They've shown privilege to people who, if you can create a name for yourself, if you can pull in an audience, we're going to give you that fight. We're going to push you as far as you can. And that's the nature of the UFC. And that's why people love it. That's why I love it. That's why we love it, right? So Sean O'Malley is on the pathway to doing that. The reason why I don't think he's necessarily there yet is because there are other faces like Khamzat Chimaev, other faces like Israel Adesanya, other faces like no one's really standing out, which is why it's there for the taking. I just think that he has to hold the belt first, right? When you look at like a perfect example is Conor McGregor. He's kind of the biggest example. He was the face of the UFC even before he was a champion, right? So that's why I still think that there's a chance without him holding the belt. But Conor McGregor is way better on the mic, and I don't want to compare the two, but he was way better on the mic than Sean O'Malley. And that's why I think Sean O'Malley, once he wins a championship, then I think it's completely, he is the undisputed face of the UFC. Right now, I think he's on the upper echelon. I think he's right there. He's a top 5 name, top 3 name in the UFC. I just don't know if he's there yet.
I'd like to say, though, as a casual, I knew Sean O'Malley going into this fight. I was rooting for Sean O'Malley, even though I didn't know anything. I knew who he was. In my eyes, he was UFC. He is UFC as a casual, right? So you got to look at it from that perspective. I don't know barely any of the other guys you guys were talking about, right? But I know Sean O'Malley. Yeah. And with this fight, I think it may have hurt him more than it helped him, even though he won. A lot of people were saying he shouldn't even have took the fight, right? Because he wasn't ready. But then he came in, he showed that he could withstand, right? And then he won, and then now people are saying he shouldn't have won. So I think from a perspective of like, he's not getting the respect that he should when you win because of the outcome of the fight.
The one thing before Malik goes real quick is you were talking about how the media is talking. I think that's a good thing regardless. He's got people talking. He has people talking about the UFC. And I think regardless, Conor McGregor was the same way. People said, not necessarily the same way, but, oh, he's a fluke. He can't do that to the best. Even before the Khabib fight, oh, he's not that guy. Conor's going to get smashed by Sean O'Malley. I think, yes, we watched that fight. I know the type of fighter Sean O'Malley is. People are out there literally saying he's a terrible fighter. And that's just on them. But he has people talking.
But
So
you said Connor was good on the mic, and that's like a difference. But I mean, Sean O'Malley stood up there and was like, I don't even think I deserved this win, right? So how are people going to sit there and be like, yeah, like he's that guy when he stood up there and was like, did I even deserve to win this fight?
yeah, no, that's a fair point.
So here's my thought process. I think a lot of people are angry. I think a lot of people lost a lot of money betting on Petr Yan. The fact of the matter is, when I saw the fight, I personally thought Sean O'Malley won round 1. I thought Sean O'Malley won round 3.
Yep.
I thought that, just so for context, for those of you who don't watch UFC, Petr Yan, it was looked at as the boogeyman of the bantamweight division. He was looked at as, the guy that nobody wanted to fight. He's like a machine. He pretty much just goes through everybody like a buzzsaw. He's really never shown any real, point in his career of being in real danger. The guy that beat him for the championship belt, first and foremost, won the belt based off of a disqualification of an illegal knee, and then he won the title defense by holding his back for an entire round and literally doing nothing with it, just literally holding his back and holding on for dear life. So Petr Yan, in a lot of people's eyes, including my eyes, was looked at as the best bantamweight. He was looked at as the best bantamweight on the UFC roster and arguably could be the UFC champion, right? This is a guy that people are scared to stand with. He turned the UFC bantamweight champion into a wrestling diver, if you will. The fact of the matter is, Sean O'Malley hurt Petr Yan in ways I've never seen Petr Yan hurt. And Petr Yan has faced some of the biggest and baddest dudes in the UFC. People like Corey Sandhagen, people like Jose Aldo, who just recently retired, so on and so forth. He turned Petr Yan into a wrestler. Petr Yan was looked at as by everybody as one of the best boxers in the UFC. And Sean O'Malley diced him up on the feet. He hurt him in the first round. He hurt him in the third round. He split his head open to the point you could almost see Petr Yan's skull. So when people talk about, that was a robbery, I think context matters, and I think that that's just a lot of upset people who thought that they understood the sport. I was one of you. I believed in my heart Petr Yan was going to win that fight. But if you guys, God's my witness, I looked over at Daniel, I looked over at some of the people that went. I said to them, I have a funny feeling Sean O'Malley's going to win this fight.
Yeah.
I said, and this is before the fight started. Something about it felt weird and obvious. Sean fought like again, I love what you're saying, Masty Flips. Sean fought Peter like he had nothing to lose, fearless.
Yep.
Sean proved to everybody that he belonged. And in terms of the question, is Sean O'Malley the new face of the UFC? I'm going to get to that, but I'm going to tell you 100% something even bigger than that for a second. He's the new face of the bantamweight division. Mm-hmm. He has a bigger name than the bantamweight champion, Aljamain Sterling. For real. More people were excited to see Petr Yan and Sean O'Malley than they were to see Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. And the reason why is because of the star power of a Sean O'Malley, like Meg alluded to. She knew who Sean O'Malley was before he competed. The fact of the matter is, Sean O'Malley's star rose after this fight. Because guess what? Now he's got people saying he didn't deserve to win. First people was, he doesn't deserve to be there. He doesn't deserve to fight the number one ranked guy. Not only did he deserve to fight the number one ranked guy, he proved that he belonged there. He hurt the number one ranked guy. And I don't mean just hurt like, he wobbled. No, Petr Yan was staggered several times and cracked open and shot for takedowns. By people talking about this fight, by people talking about Sean O'Malley in such a negative way, you're making him the face of the UFC. Mm-hmm. He's giving you reasons to talk about. The exact same thing that propelled Floyd Mayweather's career, Conor McGregor's career. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're good on the mic or you're bad on the mic. If people don't like you, they're going to tune in to see you lose. The next time Sean O'Malley fights, people are going to tune in to see him lose. Yep. And remember, Dana's words, not mine. The winner of O'Malley versus Yan fights the winner of Dillashaw versus Sterling for the UFC bantamweight belt. Guess who the winner was? Sean O'Malley. Guess who fights for the UFC bantamweight if Henry Cejudo doesn't come back in time? Sean O'Malley. So if you ask me, Sean O'Malley, who I'm happy we had the pleasure to interview, I said before, I think the guy has underrated ground game. We know he does jiu-jitsu tournaments and things of that nature. I think he 100%, after the dust settles, will be the new face of the UFC. He's American. He's a guy that can talk. He's a guy that dresses flashy. And guess what? Whether you love him or you hate him, you're definitely entertained by him.
Yeah.
Whether it's him dribbling or doing the ollie shuffle during the fight, the guy's an entertainer. It's what he does. It's who he is. He called out the biggest, baddest name in the UFC bantamweight division and split the guy's head open. Regardless of what you think on points, Sean O'Malley outstruck him, definitely, from significant strikes. This is a guy that called out the number one ranked guy in the bantamweight division. In the world of fighting, right? I know that this is MMA. I know this is UFC. But if we're talking about the world of fighting, the visual eye test, if a newcomer who has never seen the sport were to look at Sean O'Malley and Petr Yan after that fight, and you were to pose the question, who won the fight? People would say the guy who had less injuries, no cuts on his face, and that was Sean O'Malley.
Yep.
You look at Petr Yan, who was busted open, literally a gash alongside his eyebrow to the point where you could almost see skull. Yeah. So when people say it was a robbery, look at the significant strikes, look at the visual presentation.
Yep.
Sean O'Malley made a believer out of everybody, even those of you who don't want to believe. Listen, Jan took him. I love what you're saying, Massey Flips. Jan took him down 6 times and did nothing with it. Listen, it's a difference between action and reaction. All of Petr Yan's takedowns were reactionary. It was based off of Sean hurting him.
Yep.
And I believe in my heart that if they were to fight again, I think Sean O'Malley would win again, to be quite honest with you.
So Malik, what's that saying? It's like you were talking about, whether they love him or hate him. It's like you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that's the same thing we've seen with Sean O'Malley. When we interviewed him, he was the rising star. Everybody loved him. He was the fan, like everybody loved him. And we're starting to see that slowly switch. So I think that's a good thing for Sean O'Malley. And what I like to do is I like to gain perspective. And when you look at 15, in the span of 15 minutes, he went from not belonging in the ring with Petr Yan. He went from a guy that's never been hit hard, a guy that's never been tested hard, a guy that doesn't belong to, a guy that got hit as flesh on the chin, a guy that got dropped. And in his own words, he had to go somewhere he's never been before. And what did he do? He had the option right there to quit. I've never, been in a fight. I'm sure, you can kind of test this. There's a moment where you either say, you know what, like, you don't want this, or you either find that dog, and he has that dog in him, as Meg would say. So I just love that Sean O'Malley was able to prove that on the biggest, brightest stage, that he got hit as hard as possible, and he rose to the occasion. Right? We saw the fight. He was getting back down for the beginning, the first round. And what did he do? He completely flipped the switch even after he got hit flesh on the chin.
So for all of you who are paying attention, the Sugar Show keeps a rolling. It keeps a rolling. I'm happy for Sean O'Malley. Seriously, this is a guy who told us a couple of years ago he was going to do this, and by God, he did it. He made everybody a believer. So did Islam Makhachev, but we'll save that for Wednesday. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics, live from the First Star Logistics studio here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be doing another giveaway here in a day or so. Want to thank you guys so much for supporting us each and every single week, because without you guys, this isn't possible. But make sure you guys tune into Wednesday's show. We'll be live at 7 p.m. Eastern time, same crew, new topics to talk about, and we hope to see you there. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week.